everybody. Welcome back to our Crypto Spiritual Weekly Energy Update. My name is Jona Bryndis, your energy coach here, airing from transCODES in Florida this time, associated with Crypto Staffers, our proud sponsors. And this week we're going to be looking at the energies, the collective energies of June 28th till July 5th, and how this translates into the cryptocurrency market and what's going on. Now, those of you interested in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and so forth, you've probably observed, the energies that are going on. So it's been very exhausting the last 2 weeks. I've predicted this. There's a lot of fear, a lot of panic and run. And so we've seen another bloodbath here, up and down somewhat, but I'm not expecting a lot of change. So the crypto energy barometer here for next week is on sort of orange-red, because some of you who do your own research, who have the courage, to stand your ground and to say, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to get into tokens that I thought was already too late for me to get into, or where the price was just too high, or where you bought tokens and hodled them and you want to stock up. So this is what we do the crypto integrity testing for. As most of you know, it's for the conscious investor, empath investor, and I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is not another sort of crystal ball fortune-telling type of thing. Yes, we are energy healers. Yes, we are energy readers. We're remote viewers and so forth. But what we're doing is testing, the companies behind the tokens to get a better understanding for the integrity of this company, this token, whether it's truth-based or not. So a lot of what we've been seeing here in the last year or two, since the crypto hype came in, is, could be called a bubble, but only because of the hype that comes with it. And in venture capital, as well as in, initial paper offerings, IPOs, it's common that 95% of these startups fail. And there is no other law here in the crypto market. This will happen here as well, and actually this is happening right now. So this report is called PURGE for a reason, namely this is exactly what this does. It filters out those who are not integrous, not truth-based, or who really didn't have the intention to be a betterment, or to bring in an enhancement or a verification. And so we will be looking at two tokens today. We'll be looking at an ICO, the promised ICO from last week, actually 2 weeks ago, because last week there was no crypto spiritual update, namely HighVibe.Network. We're going to be testing two tokens today, competitors that we're going to compare with another, an exchange, a wallet, a mining / investment pool on request. We've had quite a few people asking about those, and our crypto celebrity test. And next week, I don't know if I can do this so fast, but I want to add another category for our integrity testing, and that is DApps. I came across a cool one this week. So anyway, yes, so for me, this is really good riddance. Things that are shifting right now, and everything's being restructured, reorganized, reviewed, reflected, renegotiated. If you look at CoinMarketCap.com, you'll see that the first top 20 have shifted quite a bit, and this will continue here for the next 2-3 weeks. However, I do want to let you know that the incoming energies of July, as exhausting as they are for us on a personal level, for the crypto market, they're actually starting to look better. Okay, so it's a good time, to reevaluate things, to go back to your HODL list, and to check out which of the tokens, do not represent your values, you know, and which do. So in some cases, they have already crystallized, you know, as trustworthy or not. And in some cases, you know, we are still undecided. So this is the time here where we can, you know, lean back a bit. You don't need to do anything right now. If you got into the crypto market in December, you know, you had this like downfall already. It's not going to get much worse, guys. It's just the exhaustion of following the ups and downs. And unless you are a day trader, you know, it was very difficult to predict who's going to be having a few points up in price next week. So just stay calm. Now the news around cryptocurrencies are getting very interesting. So we actually have, as I mentioned last time, a majority of news around cryptocurrencies are positive. But then we also have these weirdo things. So here's some positive and here's some weirdo things that reflected these collective energies that are in total override right now, that are in total sort of radical transformation stages right now. And that is that Facebook has distanced themselves or undone the total ban on crypto advertisements. That's very good. This means that I may be able to do Facebook Lives again, because I wasn't for a while here since November last year. You know, another thing that is starting to look pretty good for us here is that there's more and more exchanges coming that allow a fiat portal, so competition for Coinbase, basically. Binance has announced that they're soon going to add this. And, you know, there's exchanges such as DX, you know, the NASDAQ licensed exchange for cryptos that is supposed to come up here soon. So there are some really cool developments for us as small conscious investors. There's also a few negative things here, and that is that the thing with exchanges is that we got to understand that they, which is, by the way, also why they typically test relatively low when we do the integrity testings, that they can become just as centralized as banks. And if we kind of just accept the truth that this is, you know, the way it develops, then we got to be careful not to get in too much dependency there. There's still, you know, the banks who are trying to fight it, who are trying to regulate, you know, our ability to buy into cryptos, and depending on what country or state you live in, it's a little easier or not. Same with being able to participate in ICOs. So those are things that you need to research on your own, you know, like what applies to your country at this very moment. In general, it looks like that Ethereum and if I'm understanding this right, with that also all ERC tokens are not going to be regarded as securities by the SEC, which means SEC is the American organization, government organization, regulates securities, which means that this is a bit of a green signal here for cryptocurrencies in the US. So let's wait and see what these regulations bring forward in the next 4 to 6 weeks, because there's going to be a lot of change there. At the same time, we're also looking at the stock market. That's what I'm doing right now, because I'm expecting big shifts there. So there's things going on. By the way, another good news here is Litecoin is going to be traded on the futures market in the future as well. And, you know, there are some things here that we don't know yet how this is all going to play out. I remember December when we all thought that, you know, Bitcoin futures is going to bring in the big institutional money, and really all it brought in was a lot of manipulation. Ever since the crypto market has kind of become unpredictable, or, you know, it's always been Wild West, but you know, it's become even more unpredictable. So Mt.Gox, you know, the big exchange from like 5 years ago that got hacked, has I think sold their last stack now of Bitcoin. And so, you know, these are all things the conspiracy theorists in the crypto market see as the main reasons for all this up and down and market manipulation. Then there's another news from yesterday. Expedia stopped accepting Bitcoin for an unknown reason. And, you know, I don't blame those companies. I've mentioned this a few times. I'm accepting cryptocurrencies for my services here at transCODES and Crypto Staff, and it's really difficult to integrate it. You know, so the all these payment processing portals, and, you know, of course, the hope is that we'll see something like PayPal, you know, for cryptocurrencies. UTrust was kind of like the hope there. I'm not seeing this right now, but we really need to get into these more feasible, more user-friendly and adaptable application software. So that's one reason why I want to add good DApps, you know, decentralized applications for the next crypto spiritual update. We had a big hack this week on Bithumb. I have an account on Bithumb as well. Was not affected. I took this as a trigger to test Bithumb. We've tested quite a few exchanges now, and the overall integrity ratings for the exchanges, you know, that they vary a bit. So some are more integrous and trustworthy than others. Some of them are off the charts, not trustworthy. And let's look at Bithumb here and how this maybe relates to the hack. One of the weirdo news here last week was that John McAfee, who you probably know, crypto celebrities, you know, the founder of McAfee Virus Protection, and he's a big proponent and you know, sort of in this anti. It gets very much caught in that, and so there was supposedly an assassination attempt on him last week. So this is, you know, stuff that we see in the collective energy updates as, you know, where people are going a bit nuts. And so for the crypto market, you know, you got to understand that, you know, the energies that are coming in, and by the way, there's no specific energy center this next week that is being triggered. Is all of them at once. But one of the main things that are coming in, and yes, I'm starting to see you guys. Hoo-hoo, Australia is here. And just as a reminder, this is live. So this is also like an AMA. So you can ask me anything here, or comment, or make suggestions for future integrity ratings. But the main memes here that we're going to be observing this next week is YOYO, you know, that is you're on your own. That is this completely isolated feeling of, oh shit, I made a mistake. Oh, why did I? Blah. You know, this complete isolation where everybody makes fun of you that you were invested in cryptocurrencies. Don't let yourselves get, you know, pulled into this. Don't take this personally. This is HODL time, guys, and you knew this when you came into, at least, you know, if you've been listening to, you know, me for the last year and a half talking about cryptocurrencies. So, you know, hodling, hold on, you know, and maybe stock up even. I'd say this is a good time. Don't get caught up in the fear of missing out. So as soon as we're going to see the first signs of, you know, the crypto market, and especially the volume picking up, which I don't expect until probably the second week of July. All right, then don't fall into FOMO either, into the fear of missing out. Instead, you know, listen to your heart, you know, stay calm and JOMO it out, you know, the joy of not missing out. And, you know, for me personally, and this is why I'm, you know, doing this even when the markets are down, I really see, you know, the opportunities here in the future. Okay. And so I'm not so worried about these constant ups and downs. I check the cryptocurrency market, you know, several times a day, and I follow the news, and I spent a considerable amount of time researching and learning. But I see this as an investment into the future. All right. So it's not about the return of investment. It is, of course, and I want to see this grow just like we all do, but I'm not looking at it as a lottery ticket. Okay, so keep up your spirit here, FIFO spirit, you know, and your HODL spirit, and don't worry about it. Let's come to the crypto integrity rating. We tested the ICO HighVibe.Network as promised 2 weeks ago. So I showed you this video and we looked at HighVibe.Network, and it's really, really cool, you know, to bring sort of a social media platform for, you know, energy workers, mindfulness workers, anybody who's in the area of self-improvement and consciousness work, and give them, you know, this portal to monetize all that. I think this is a really, really cool idea, and I was very curious about the testing. Now, the testing wasn't as high as I thought it might be, so I'm a bit disappointed, but not really, because there was something that we need to look at here when we look at how we test it. So we test in 3 different factors, okay? And with ICOs, we need to remember that they are actually, that they don't exist yet, right? I mean, this token does not exist yet. HV, high V, does not exist yet. So they're going to have their ICO process, I think, starting August the 8th. And so when we test it, we can only test what's out there on paper, what, you know, and what the people bring forward, the publications and so forth, and the team that is forming. And this is what we're testing. We're testing the ICO, the token itself. Then we test the people, the team that's forming around it or behind it. And then we test the white paper and sort of the integrity level of the project itself. And here we have, by the way, we use blind testing as a numerical scale. We used a map of consciousness developed by Dr. Hawkins. It's a scale from 0 to 1,000. And as I've pointed out before, truth is, you know, hits at the 200 level. And anything below truth is based on ego, you know, different aspects of the ego. And everything above truth is based on integrity. It's based on, you know, increasingly, you know, the highest good for all. And with all the integrity testings that we've done so far, what we've learned is that certain companies calibrate much lower than others. So that will be interesting. With ICOs, they need to be retested as tokens later. So that will be interesting as well, since we're still in the exponential phase. With this, you know, it will be really cool to look back a year later, you know, and see how this all developed, and to validate these integrity testings. But what came forward here for HighVibe.Network is that the token itself, the ICO, is trustworthy. So it's a real ICO. It's not like a shitcoin or a scam. The people behind it and the organization that is forming there, you know, is not homogenous right now. So we're not getting really good results. It's greed-based, specialness-based, and you know, perhaps also a bit illusionary in some areas. But still, though, guys, don't forget, this is still very high compared to some other ICOs that we've tested. And the white paper itself calibrates above truth. It's integrity. We had a data overlay that showed that there could be some very cool projects that come forward here with HighVibe.Network, depending on what people are really forming the team and the organization. I want to make an example. There is, and you know, I hope I'm not getting slaughtered for this, but there was an organization, Gaia.com, that formed a couple of years back, which for all practitioners, energy healers, and so forth, like myself, was a cool sort of hope. And yet the people that got attracted into this organization and the, you know, the front runners were all non-integrous in my view. And so I never even, you know, had a membership there or anything, because it wasn't truth-based. So I hope this isn't going to happen here as well. All right. So heads up for a HighVibe.Network. We're going to have to observe it, to see what people become the front runners here, and how this all realizes, because the idea of the project is really, really cool. Getting paid for meditating. Wouldn't that be awesome? All right, so next we're looking at token testing. And I've picked 2 tokens that are competitors, namely wallet tokens. And don't get this confused now. We're testing the wallet. We're testing the token, not the wallet. For both of these companies, ETHOS and Pillar, the wallet is not live yet. They're in alpha and beta test right now, and so we cannot really test the wallet itself, but we can test the token, because they, of course, have been on the market since last year. I was one of the Pillar ICO fanatics or enthusiasts, you know, one of the most community-driven ICOs last year, and it brought in a lot of people into the crypto market. I have a huge respect for David Siegel, the CEO or non-CEO, however you want to call this. And Pillar is a cool project, has multiple branches to it, and of course the main branch is the wallet and the exchange. You know, all based on phone, you know, iOS or Android, and of also trying to utilize our phone as a hardware wallet. So those are really, really cool ideas. But what I see with Pillar is actually the data management aspect. So, you know, the conscious data sharing that the Pillar project will integrate later down the road. So the token itself calibrated at 210. That did not surprise me. It is an Integris project, Integris token. It hasn't performing, you know, outrageously well, but that was to be expected. The product isn't live yet. The wallet isn't live yet, but the team is truth-based. There are some issues within Pillar that have to do with the DAO, with the decentralized organization that they're trying to build. And we'll have to see how this develops, you know, if they can attract the right people into the team on the long run. There is a very, very cool spirit to Pillar, and it's also very future-oriented. David Siegel wrote a couple of books, produces webinars like myself, you know, all the time, and is very much, you know, oriented towards open source and information sharing. Those are all very Integris traits. So there's a really cool community infrastructure here, and I'm seeing a lot of future opportunities with Pillar. The team calibrated at 202. That confirmed also the integrity and the technology itself. The project itself calibrates at 208, gives it a total integrity rating of 207, Integris and trustworthy. Now let's compare this with ETHOS, which is also a software wallet that will use the phone as, you know, sort of a hardware component, and has a very similar features, except for the data, the personal data sharing is not so much in the foreground. Interestingly, the token, the ETH token here calibrates at 219. That's higher than Pillar. And this is actually reflected in how the ETHOS token has performed since its ICO last year. So ETHOS is probably the better midterm investment, therefore. The people also seem to be a bit more homogeneous. They seem to be a bit less confused, or less here at ETHOS at 205. That is a very high team rating, just like Pillar. And the project itself, the technology calibrates at 202, which means it's safe, it's trustworthy. So it's an Integris token wallet is not live yet. It's currently in beta state. I'm a beta tester myself. Team is truth-based, brings in good long-term opportunities. I am very curious how these two wallets, once they are live, perform. But as far as their tokens is concerned, we already know that this is a, good long-term investment. Exchange, the exchange we tested, I announced this earlier, is Bithumb. The exchange itself, and with it the safety, calibrates at 170. That is not so different from most of the other exchanges, but of course very low, which means it is prone to attacks. And the people behind it in the organization calibrated at 153. That's a bit too low, guys. So it only came out to a total of 162. I think that's the lowest rating we've had for exchanges so far. It calibrates as not trustworthy. People behind it are in fear and anger, and that attracts attacks. And this is what we've seen last week. So as we're doing this and as we're observing the news that comes, every day, it's really cool, to validate or not, we don't know this yet, some of these integrity testings. And down the road, a couple of years from now, this will even be more interesting. I don't think that Bithumb in its current structure and organization will be able to survive with, the current competition that is going on in the exchange market. The crypto exchange market. Next is the wallet. And again, here, don't forget, Pillar and ETHOS are both announcing wallet software, but it's not live yet. So we can't test them as wallets. We can only test them as tokens, as investments. And as when we test wallets, where we test the application, it's a little different. We test the wallet function, then the people behind it again, and the safety of the technology. And since it already exists, this can be verified. We picked TREZOR, one of the main hardware wallets. We tested a new hardware wallet last week or 2 weeks ago, and that didn't really look too good. But looking at TREZOR, the wallet function 207, I'm a TREZOR user myself. The software is really, really not that good, but, it works. This test is, of course, for the existing version of TREZOR. They've announced a new upgraded or updated version, and we're going to have to redo the test then because it's a different item, really. But the people in the organization calibrate at 193. That's okay. And the technology and safety is over 200. That's important. When it comes to safety, it's safe with a total rating, integrity rating of 201. So overall, it's a trustworthy hardware wallet, recommended, solid solutions, but updates needed, especially, from my end, because I'm a bit frustrated with the software as far as user friendliness is concerned. Next up is mining and investment pools. This is quite interesting. We've been asked to test certain of these pools here in the course of the last couple of months, and we didn't have a category for it. So we started with a mining/investment pool that I've recommended last year. And then I'm actually also a shareholder of it. I was really interested in this, and this will be very interesting. The name of this investment pool is Plan C. It's a mixture of actual, hardware mining, ICOs, and investments. So you buy shares in that. It's not a token. It's just, something where you let the experts do it for you, so you don't have to buy the equipment, you don't have to do the trades. And, there's, of course, a long-term plan behind this. And the investment plan itself, calibrated at 205, that's Integris, guys. The people in the organization, or that the organization has attracted, in only calibrates at 185. Now that is, you know, concerning. You know, like around 195, okay, but we really want, you know, the people of investment plans or investment pools to, we really want to see them over 200, because they are the ones, you know, that drive all of that. Now, people can be exchanged. The project and the vision, you know, here and for those plans that you sign up for, that, you know, sometimes are lifelong, can't really be changed that much. And here, this is very positive. Calibrating at 229 means that it's an integrous plan. It's really a good plan, and that it will also succeed. But the people involved right now, there's too much emotional release. There's too much greed that came in, greed and pride. So there's a correction that is needed. So I do see a long-term vision here for Plan C, if that sort of restructuring that we're all going through, this correction, is being taken seriously. Other than that, it appears to be an integrous plan. Last but not least, you know, we did this as kind of teaching, you know, us also how to look at things. Namely, we've decided to test crypto celebrities based on their overall consciousness level, the person's consciousness level, okay? And this can be a little critical. As energy workers, we have to ask permission to publish those results, because we don't want any manipulation, of course. So we've decided to you know, go down a list of I guess, the most famous ones. And next up is Vitalik Buterin, from the founder of Ethereum, very controversial person, almost like an icon, really, sort of the typical crypto, you know, genius, all right, is without a doubt a visionary. And in the integrity testing, what we're showing is that he has a really good connection within. He has a lot of courage. I would trust that guy with my grandmother. You know, there's so much courage here to go against the grain. Sometimes maybe a little too much, maybe a little too much rebellion. It can frustrate him easily. So that can make his conscious level drop, but you know, and fluctuate. But I am totally convinced that we will see more of Vitalik. He's got a consciousness rating of 261. This doesn't seem much, guys, but that's absolutely trustworthy, based on empowerment. He is seeking the good of all. We had overlay with him. It can go much higher with him. He's a sort of mental genius, which, of course, you know, often also brings in the social issues that, you know, that most of you empaths probably are familiar with. But he can also go low into frustration and attack. So it's a young person. I'd love to meet him. I will probably not understand a word of anything that he says, but I admire his spirit. So 261, I'm sure we'll see more of him. All right, guys, and this concludes my presentation here for week 27. Watch it. Hello, Canada. I see you. So good to have you here live. Yes, we've come to the end. Don't forget to like this video, share this video. We're not monetizing them, and this is quite useful information, and very different from most of the other crypto info, crypto data that is floating around. Next week is going to be difficult for all of us personally. Don't let this manipulate or dominate your investment decisions. Okay, we're still in the weeding out phase, you know. So let this purge happen and set this out. Right, there's a huge future waiting for cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. Hope to see you next week, same time. Bye-bye.